guys, it's Joel from guntoter.org. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be discussing ArgusTAK, which is a cloud-based server for the Team Awareness Kit. Now, it's going to be an overview and initial setup video, so it's basically going to be what is ArgusTAK, why do you need it, and how do you get your devices working on the network. Now, before we get into the meat of the presentation, as always, can you please do the like, share, and subscribe thing, and don't forget to turn on the notifications so you know when I post a new video. If you can go down into the description and check out our Patreon page. We do have 3 different membership levels. The Intrigued and Dedicated levels do have some benefits that go along with them, including ad-free videos and early access to videos. Everything we do here we pay for. We do not get anything for free. We do that for 2 reasons. One, we want to provide you with the most bias-free reviews we possibly can, and 2, we want to be free to dictate kind of our own pursuits and our own reviews as opposed to being beholden to companies that are sending us gear. So any help you can give us through our Patreon page would be greatly appreciated. Now, with all that out of the way, let's talk. So one of the questions I have gotten a lot on my video about iTAK is, why don't my contacts work? This is a very good question, because with virtually every other app we install, right, we can immediately start using it and we can immediately start communicating and so on. And that's the same whether it's like WhatsApp, Wicker, any of those communication apps. Now, the difference is that for TAK, you have to set up a server. First off, why do you even need a server? Well, the simplest answer to that is your devices don't communicate directly to each other. So you can literally lay 2 phones next to each other and dial a number, and the data is not going to go directly from one phone to the other. What it's going to do is it's going to go to an intermediary, and then it's going to go through servers, and then it's going to go to the other phone, even though they're literally right next to each other. So all your other communications apps, part of the package of downloading the app is that you get the server already set up. So it's kind of transparent. Like, you're used to just being able to download an app. It'll ask for access to your contacts. You say yes, and then you go find your friends and off you go. TAK does not do that. TAK is not designed that way. TAK is a tactical situational awareness tool. It is not just a simple communication app. And because of that, the government built it so that you basically had to set up your own server. They don't maintain their server for you. They provide you the software. They provide you the tools. It's up to you to set it up. So that is why you need a server. So that brings us to ArgusTAK. Basically, ArgusTAK, it's a cloud-based server, and the biggest benefit to this is that you don't have to invest in the architecture of the server, right? You don't have to buy the computer that's going to act as the server. You don't have to get the software from tak.gov and then set it up on the hardware and then have someone maintain it. All of that is essentially done for you. All you have to do is work through their graphic interface and set it up. And it's really very simple. The details of what you get when you subscribe to ArgusTAK are actually on the blog. We're not going to run through them here. This is going to be more of the setup than the overview. But if you go to our blog, you can check that out, and the details are there. So the first thing you have to do is set up an account. Now, setting up the account itself is free. You're not going to incur any cost by just setting up the account. You don't actually incur cost until you set up either an organization or a network. I set up an organization, and what I did was I paid for their most basic rate, which is $15 a month. For that $15 a month, I get 5 what's called seats. Each seat is $3. So the basic package, you pay $15, you get 5 seats. If I want to add more seats, I can pay the additional money. Now, what is a seat? Because this is one of the things I don't think they do a very good job of on their website, is explaining what exactly a seat is. A seat is either a user with a device or a separate device. So as we're moving through this, you can see here that I have 2 users and 1 device for a total of 3 seats. So what that is I have myself, I have a friend that I am using to help test this network, and then I have an additional phone so that I could test both the Android phone and the iPhone on the network. So I can be able to speak to both sides of that. So we're not going to talk about how to set up, I'm not going to walk you through the steps of how to set up an organization because it's very simple. On their website, it's literally just, I think it's 5 steps and your organization is set up. So we're not going to go through that. We're going to focus more on actually getting the devices on board. So I did create a network. I called it test one. This is the network status page. As you can see, it's got the name, number of users, number of other devices, really simple page. Users. All right, so I told you I had 2 users and 1 extra device. This is a critical page for you. As you can see, I have myself and my friend Dan, who, by the way, has his own YouTube channel. So go check him out over at SPG1 Tactical. Shameless plug there. As you can see, this is basically your status page for the users. So it tells whether or not the individual is connected, which on this particular day, neither of us had our phones running TAK at the moment. It gives you your certificate password, which is going to become important in a minute when we talk about it. And you can also assign your devices to a network. And then critically, if you look at the second 2 icons, there's one that looks like a 3D box and there's one that looks like an apple. Those 2 icons are your server packages. That is the information you have to download to actually get yourself on to get your device, I should say, on the network. The 3D box is your Android server package, and the Apple is, wait for it, it's your iPhone package. So depending on what device your individual user is connecting, they need to click on one of those icons and download the server package. Now this is what your device status page looks like. And you'll notice it looks remarkably similar, right? It's got, is the device connected? What's the status of the device? What network is it connected to? The password, again, which will come in handy in a minute. And then the same ability to download server packages, assign it to a network, and so on. Now, this is what your server packages look like. They download as zip files, but this is what's in them. Uh, the cert auth, that is your trust certificate, and we'll talk about that in a minute. We're working through this. And then the client file is your client certificate. The rest you don't really need to worry about because you're not going to have to worry about the individual files. But the cert auth and the client are going to come up again here in a minute. Now, as I said, they both download as zip files. So for Apple, you don't need to do anything except save that zip file to your iPhone where you can find it. Um, for Android, on the other hand, you actually need to download it and unzip it and then save the unzipped file to your Android device. Now, all of this, if you set up your ArgusTAK account, there's this page here, which is connection settings, which gives you basically what I'm about to talk you through, but just in written form, as does my blog, which you can check out. The information is down below. You can download the Trust Store certificate here. This is downloading just the certificate, not the client certificate as well. So if you download the server package, you don't need to come here and download the Trust Store certificate separately. As you can see, I've blacked out some stuff on here, like the port, the Trust Store password, because the Trust Store password is a default. So I blacked that out here, so it's not, getting broadcast on YouTube. And then your client certificate password, as I said earlier, is actually on the line with either the user or the device. Now, setting up for iTAK. Here's iTAK open. Go up to your settings, choose network, choose servers, click the plus button to add a server, and then hit Upload Server Package. That will take you right here to your files. Find your zip file that you saved to your iPhone, click it, and voila, you are connected to ArgusTAK. It really is that simple. Of the two types of devices, this is one of the few places where I would say iTAK has a distinct advantage over ATAK. It's so much simpler to set up a network on iTAK than it is over ATAK. Now, for those of you who are asking, where are my contacts? Once you are connected to the network, whether on iTAK or ATAK, you will be able to see contacts. However, you will only be able to see the contacts that are also on that server with you, right? You're not going to be able to just go into your phone and your phone's contacts and find people. You are only going to be able to see the people that are actually on the server with you. Now for ATAK, it's a little bit more complicated. First off, I should preface this by saying that I am doing this with ATAK version 4.5.1. That is important because what I'm going to show you as far as screenshots may not look the same if you are running a different version. As a side note, we're going to take a bit of a rabbit trail here. Because ATAK, this is less so for iTAK, because iTAK doesn't have all the plugins and other stuff that ATAK does. If you are running an organization that is making use of plugins along with ATAK, you need to exercise version control. When you have people install ATAK on their phone, you cannot have them set up automatic updates if you are using plugins. And the reason for that is that the plugins are not necessarily updated at the same time that ATAK is. So if your phone updates ATAK, for example, to 4.6.1, and your plugins are only compatible with 4.5.1, you just lost the ability to use your plugins. That's why I'm still running 4.5.1 instead of 4.6.1. 4.5.1 is not the most recent. However, it is the one that is proven to work with all the plugins that I run. So keep that in mind. Auto update is not your friend when it comes to ATAK and plugins. Now that we've taken that tangent, you're going to go to Settings. You're going to go to Network Connections. You're going to go to Network Connections again, and then you're going to go to Manage Server Connections. So there's a lot of buttons to click through. I'm not going to lie. On ATAK, there's a lot of buttons to get where you need to go. It's going to take you to this blank screen. You're going to click the three buttons up in the right-hand corner. Click Add, and it'll bring you to this page. Now, all this will be blank when you get there, but you're going to insert the name of the network, which for me is test one, as you saw earlier in the ArgusTAK screenshots. You're going to enter the address ArgusTAK.com. You're going to click Advanced Options, and you're going to pick SSL. You are going to have to change the server port. The default server port is not the one that ArgusTAK uses. As you saw in the screenshot earlier, ArgusTAK tells you which server port to choose, or which server port to set it to, I should say. So you're going to have to do that once you actually set up your account in ArgusTAK. You do not want necessarily to use the default SSL TLS certificates. You're going to want to manually install these. You're going to click on Import Trust Store. Then you're going to have to navigate to wherever you saved the unzipped file, the unzipped server package that you downloaded earlier. You're going to choose, for the Trust Store, you're going to choose Cert Auth, and then you are going to input the default password, again, that is on ArgusTAK's site. Once you have that in, you're going to go in, you're going to find the client file. You're going to select that, and then you're going to have to go to your line for your user or your device, find the password on there, and enter it here. Once you have done that, you should get something that looks an awful lot like this with the nice green glowing ball. Green glowing ball is good. That means you're connected to the network. If you want to confirm this, you can go back into ArgusTAK, pull up the status line for either the user end device or the separate device, and look to see if it says whether or not the device is connected. I have found that it's fairly normal, especially with ATAK, for it to kind of connect and disconnect randomly. it doesn't drop the server, like it doesn't disconnect for a long time. It's a second, 2 seconds, but it does do that. And when you are initially setting up, you may have that issue, and you can work through it. It's not super difficult, but just be aware that that does happen. So, with all that said, I think ArgusTAK is a really beneficial uh, service, and the reason I think that is, as I mentioned earlier, setting up a server can be very technically involved, and it also does require infrastructure behind it. It requires a computer. Now, granted, it doesn't require a super expensive computer. There are people who can set it up on like a Raspberry Pi, but you have to know what you're doing. Like servers are not something you want to fat finger through. Um, and it is also, in my opinion, for someone who is learning ATAK or iTAK and is trying to get kind of the basics of like, how do I communicate with someone else? How do I send data? How do I perform these basic functions? Um, ArgusTAK allows you to get set up and running in honestly probably less than an hour, unless you're me and you have issues. Now, my issues were all self-caused, but plug for ArgusTAK here. Their customer support team was awesome, even though the issue that I was having was caused by my own idiocy. So, big plug for their customer service team. But that's another, honestly, that's another key point to ArgusTAK is not only is everything basically set up and all you have to do is click through a few options to get up and running, you have customer support. If you are running your own server, you don't have that. So not only do you have to have the dedicated infrastructure, but you have to have someone who actually knows how to maintain that server. Now, on the opposite side of that, obviously ArgusTAK costs you money monthly. The cheapest, like I said, is 15. You can expand it, but obviously the more you expand it, every time you add a device or a person over the 5, you are costing another $3 a month. So yeah, if you're running 20 to 30 people in your group, that could get very expensive, right? 60 to 90 bucks a month can be expensive. That's probably not something that you're going to want to pay for on your own. But like for me, for the purposes of this video and kind of getting things up and running, ArgusTAK has so many advantages that it's not worth it to me yet to actually try to get into setting up my own server. Will I eventually? Yes, because there are times when setting up your own server is necessary. If you're trying to do a portable server, like your own wireless LAN, and you want a server connected to that. If you're worried about specific security issues or data storage issues, I mean, there's lots of reasons you might want your own server. But again, if you're just getting into it and you can afford the 15 bucks a month, ArgusTAK is probably worth it to learn how things run on TAK before you take the slightly larger leap of getting involved in actually setting up your own server. Um, if there is a guy out there who has set up his own server and thinks that it is super easy and awesome, by all means, jump in and tell me. Or better yet, honestly, make a video and show me how to do it. Otherwise, I'm going to be fat fingering this and it's going to be ugly. Um, but that's just my opinion based on my level of comfort with computers. So I'll throw that out there. With all that said, thanks for watching. I hope this was useful for you. As always, if you have questions, if you have comments, put them down below. Um, if I don't know the answer, I will try to get it for you. If you want me to, I will engage ArgusTAK because I'd be willing to bet that if you have a question, someone else does, and quite possibly I do too, and I just haven't gotten around to asking it yet. So feel free to drop those below and I will engage with ArgusTAK. You're obviously free to do it on your own as well because they are on Discord, as are so many other TAK users. Um, but I will definitely engage if it's not something that you want to do. Also, if you have suggestions, let me know. And again, if you could help us out monetarily, I know, right, inflation is killing everybody right now. I totally get it. But we're trying to do a service here, and we could really use the support via Patreon. So thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you all again next time.